This is my lesson on how to measure time for second graders. This is my lesson objective, so students will be able to tell and write time from an analog and digital clocks to the nearest 5 minutes using AM and PM. So what do we need to know about time? This is where I'd have kids come up and they could write anything on the board, like that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. Pretty much anything that's like general knowledge. So then there's 24 hours in a day. So then once we're done kind of going over what we know already, I can slide this down and I can say, these are the things we definitely need to know. Do we have them? Do we need to add to this? Are we good? Should we move on? Next, we'd look at the parts of a digital clock. So for this, I'd have the kids kind of identify what they already knew, and that this is our hours, and that this is our minutes. And then we have our little colon to divide. And at this point, when we're kind of done identifying parts of the digital clock, here at this line, I have all the different parts of the clock so that we can kind of check our work and make sure we know everything we need to know. This slide is about the analog clocks. It's the same kind of concept. I'd have the kids say that this is the hour hand, and then this is the minute, and then this is our second hand, and then we have all of our numbers, and again, I have all of our answers here on this line so that we can double check that we have all of our knowledge that we need to have moving forward. So then after we've gone over the parts of the clock, we're going to see this empty clock, and we're going to have to decide where the numbers go and talk about what the numbers mean. So we know that we have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6. And then we'll talk about what each of those mean, and that 1 means 5 minutes, 2 means 10 minutes, 3 means 15 minutes, and so on. So the kids will talk about how they know how to skip count and things like that. Then we'll move to our GeoGebra section of the lesson. So this is how to set the clock. And so we'll use this slider down here to change our clock. We'll talk about what time we think it means. And then we'll click on this digital clock and it'll prove to us that it is in fact showing 2 o'clock. So then we can have kids come up, they can change it a little more, make it something a little bit harder. See on the digital clock that it's 3:05. So that allows us to put the GeoGebra into our SMART lesson. Our next slide is going to be matching the times of the clock. So at this point, kids are kind of feeling a little bit more confident about knowing how to tell time. So then we could have, volunteers come up and match times to digital to analog, analog to digital, anything like that, and just line up what we know is correct. And our last slide is going to be like what time of day it is. So we'll talk about when the sun rises, what time we think that is. So we think that's probably about 7 o'clock. We'll do a 7 as an hour hand and a 12 for our minute hand, saying 7 o'clock. And then what time does the sun set? Around here right now, it's probably about 6 o'clock. So we're going to say, oh, maybe we'll say 6:15. And then kids can practice making a time and understanding that there's AM times and PM times. And then that's the end of our second grade time telling lesson with the interactive smartboard.